Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. His hand was on the small of her back. That's how it started. Not a handshake, not a casual pat on the arm. Number. His hand rested there, right on the part of her back I used to trace with my thumb on Sunday mornings when neither of us wanted to get out of bed. He didn't see me at first. She did. She saw me watching. She saw my eyes freeze over the glass of that stupid champagne I didn't want. And yet, she didn't move. She didn't flinch. Didn't adjust her posture, just kept smiling at him like I wasn't even real, like I was background noise in her brand new better story. He leaned in, close, closer than any coworker should get. She didn't back away. Instead, she tilted her head slightly to the right, just like she used to do when I kissed her, and let him do it. He kissed her. There. In that elegant rooftop gallery with fake laughter and overpriced wine, under warm lights and hollow speeches, a stranger kissed my wife like he'd done it before. I stepped forward. My voice? It barely came out. Adina? She turned toward me, slowly, like I was an inconvenience. Like I dropped my fork at the wrong dinner table. And then she whispered something I'll never forget, even if I live to be 100. You're mistaken. Those two words didn't come with panic or shame. No trembling voice, no apology, just cold certainty. You're mistaken, she said, as if the kiss didn't happen, as if my memory was faulty, as if I was the problem, and he just stood there, no smirk, no explanation. He didn't care. He adjusted his blazer like he'd just closed a deal. I didn't slap him. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I turned around, walked out of that gallery, and rode an elevator down 23 floors with nothing but my own breath keeping me company. When I reached the sidewalk, the world kept moving like nothing happened. Cars, people, laughter from a food truck across the street. But something inside me had collapsed. She texted me later, 3 dots, then 1 sentence. We'll talk at home. That was 5 days ago. She's been sleeping like a baby ever since. Me, I haven't slept at all. It's not the kiss that keeps replaying in my head. It's the moment after. The way she looked at me like I was some confused stranger who wandered into the wrong party. That blank, pitying expression. Like I was too fragile to be told the truth, too unimportant to even deserve an explanation. Since that night, we haven't spoken a word about it, not one. And believe me, I've tried. But every time I open my mouth, she does this thing. Exhales, eyes half-lidded, as if she's bracing for another one of Lowell's episodes. So I just shut down. Again. Like always. The next morning after the dinner, she was humming in the kitchen while frying eggs. Frying eggs, like nothing had happened. She was still in that silky robe I got her for Christmas, the same one she wore on our last anniversary when she said she still felt lucky to be mine. Now, it just looked like a costume, like someone else was pretending to be my wife in her skin. I asked her softly, who was he? I didn't raise my voice. I wasn't accusatory. Just a man asking for air in a sealed room. She paused, turned toward me slowly and said, You really want to do this before work? As if I was the one poisoning the atmosphere. As if my pain was an inconvenience to her schedule. That night, I checked her phone. I know how that sounds. But when you've seen something with your own eyes and been told you imagined it, your mind turns into a prison. Her messages were mostly clean, nothing explicit. But she had a contact saved under Leon HR. No messages, just a call history. 3 missed calls, 2 outgoing. All on the day of the dinner. All within an hour of the kiss. Leon. I'd never heard his name before, not once in 6 years. HR? She told me their HR department was all remote and barely interacted with her team. So, why the secret number? I confronted her that evening. My voice shook. My hands were ice. I know about Leon, I said. She looked up from her tablet, blinked once and said, You're spiraling. You should talk to someone that broke something in me. She didn't say I was wrong. She didn't deny knowing him. She just redirected my pain, pushed it back on me like it was my illness, my disorder. That night, she turned her back to me in bed, and I just laid there, staring at the ceiling fan, wondering how long I'd been sleeping beside someone who could erase me so easily. The first time I actually saw Leon's face, he was laughing. Not at me, not yet, but at something Adina had said. It was 2 days after the dinner, and I had decided to show up at her office without warning. I told myself I just wanted to take her to lunch. maybe bridge the quiet space between us with something normal, something kind. But part of me wanted to see if he was real. If the man in the charcoal blazer wasn't just a hallucination born out of jealousy and doubt. Her building was all glass and steel, overly polished and pretending to be friendlier than it was. I waited in the lobby for over 10 minutes before I saw her step off the elevator. And there he was, next to her. The same guy, same smile, same way too familiar body language. His hand was hovering behind her back again, not quite touching this time, but close enough that it made my stomach twist. She saw me before he did. Her expression tightened for just a second before it was replaced with that public relations smile she used when talking to people she didn't want to offend. "Oh," she said, like I was a surprise package on the porch. "What are you doing here?" I forced a smile. "Thought I'd steal you for lunch." She hesitated. A flicker of something crossed her face. Guilt? Annoyance? I couldn't tell. "I have a team lunch," she said, gesturing vaguely behind her. "It's kinda mandatory." Leon finally turned to look at me. He was taller than I remembered, cleaner shaven, eyes sharp but empty. He gave me a firm nod. "You must be Lowell. I've heard a lot about you. I wish I could say." I shook his hand. I wish I could say I acted like a man. Instead, I just mumbled something like, "Yeah," and looked down at my shoes like a child about to be scolded. "We should go," Edina said, and just like that, she brushed past me. Not a kiss, not a touch, not even a "see you later." They walked toward the back of the building together, while I stood in the lobby, watching my wife laugh at something that wasn't mine. The elevator doors closed, reflecting me in the glass. I didn't recognize the man staring back. That night, I opened our wedding album. I don't even know why. Maybe I was searching for proof that she ever loved me at all. Her eyes looked different back then. Warmer. She used to lean into me when we posed for photos. Now, she leaned away. I stared at our photo from the honeymoon in Big Sur, both of us barefoot on the cliffside, sunburnt and stupidly happy. I used to believe that memory could save us from anything, but memories can't compete with the present. And the present had a name, Leon. I tried not to follow her. I really did. I told myself over and over that if I gave her space, she'd come back to me. That if I stayed calm, if I didn't spiral, if I acted secure, she'd see that I was worth staying faithful to. But one night, after another silent dinner where she barely touched her food and I pretended not to notice, she told me she was going out for a team-building happy hour, the same phrase she used the night before the company dinner. I asked who was going. She gave me the usual vague answer, just the team, and I cracked. I waited 30 minutes after she left, then grabbed my coat, called a rideshare, and followed her. Not with some high-tech app or sleuthing. I just knew her habits too well. Knew which bars her coworkers liked, which ones had live music on Thursdays. I found her at the second one I checked. It was a rooftop lounge, crowded but cozy. Music low enough for conversation, lighting dim enough to pretend nothing mattered. And there she was, at a corner table, a glass of red wine in her hand, her lips moving fast, eyes locked onto his. Leon. They weren't touching, not this time. But their chairs were angled toward each other, close enough for whispers. There was an empty seat between them. I don't know why, but that seat ruined me more than the kiss ever did. It was symbolic, as if there had been space for me, but I never showed up. I stood at the edge of the room for several minutes, watching, frozen. I didn't even know what I'd say if I walked up. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want her coworkers to see me like that, small, shaking, desperate. So, I left, again. On the way home, I texted her, "Hope your team's having fun. Be safe." She didn't reply for 3 hours. When she did, all she sent was, "Thanks. Just wrapping up now." No mention of Leon, no guilt, no explanation. That night, I couldn't stay in our bedroom. I slept on the couch with the TV on mute, just so I wouldn't hear the sound of her brushing her teeth, or the creak of our mattress when she climbed in alone. I think I wanted her to come find me. Maybe sit next to me and ask what was wrong, like she used to. But she never came. And when I finally dragged myself to bed around 3 a.m., she was curled up on her side, facing away from me, breathing softly like she hadn't broken anything. I laid there with my eyes open until morning, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out when exactly I became a stranger in my own marriage. I don't think people cheat in one sudden moment. It's slower than that. A fade, not a fall. Like watching condensation build up inside a glass. You can see it happening, but you can't wipe it away without admitting it's there. And the worst part? Sometimes the one fading doesn't even realize they're doing it. Or maybe they do, and they just don't care. It was the Saturday after the lounge incident when I heard her laugh like she used to. Not the half-hearted giggle she gave me when I forgot to put the toilet seat down, but that deep belly laugh she used to let out during road trips or terrible rom-coms. Only this time, I wasn't the reason for it. I wasn't even part of the conversation. She was in the home office, door open, FaceTiming someone on her laptop. I was in the hallway, out of sight, frozen like a criminal in his own house. Her voice was animated, full of life. She talked about an inside joke I didn't understand, referenced a nickname I'd never heard her use. And then I heard her say it, so casually it nearly knocked the air out of me. "Stop, Leon, you're terrible," she said, laughing again. Leon? There it was, no hiding it anymore. He wasn't just some office flirtation or a one-time mistake. He was in our house now, in our rooms, in our silence, in the way her voice had started to sound brighter when she was talking to anyone but me. She didn't even know I was home. That's the part that burned. I could have walked in, and she wouldn't have changed a thing. There was no fear in her voice, no hesitation. She was comfortable. Too comfortable. I didn't confront her right away. I didn't storm in and demand answers. I just walked into the kitchen, turned on the faucet, and made enough noise to let her know I was there. Her laughter stopped almost instantly. A moment later, she came out holding her phone like it had betrayed her. "Didn't hear you come in," she said, not looking me in the eye. I nodded. "Sounded like you were having fun," she shrugged. "It's just Leon. We were going over Monday's campaign rollout right, a rollout that apparently required laughter and inside jokes." "I didn't know HR did campaign rollouts," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Her smile faltered just a little. "Lowell, are we really doing this again?" I didn't answer. I didn't trust myself to. She gave a tired sigh, kissed me on the cheek like I was a sick relative, and went upstairs without another word. I stood in the kitchen, gripping the edge of the counter like it could hold me together, but it couldn't. Nothing could anymore. I wasn't just losing her. I was being erased, and one call, one laugh, one quiet retreat at a time. It had been building for weeks. The silence, the soft door closes, the way her eyes flicked to her phone screen when she thought I wasn't looking. I kept trying to convince myself it was all in my head, that maybe I was the problem, maybe I was too sensitive, too needy, too uninteresting. But on the second Friday of the month, that illusion shattered in the cruelest, most casual way. Adina told me she was working late on a client rebranding pitch, said they were ordering Thai food to the office, hammering out details into the night. I offered to bring her something, just to be thoughtful. She smiled politely and said, "We'll probably be in the middle of a call. It's chaos." At 7:12 p.m., something in me refused to sit still. I didn't plan anything. I just grabbed my keys and drove downtown without even putting on socks. I didn't go to her office. I went to a quiet Italian bistro 3 blocks away. It was the one she used to love, the one we celebrated her first big promotion at. She hadn't mentioned it in over a year, and I hadn't thought about it until I was parked in front of it, staring through the windows. That's when I saw her. She wasn't in business clothes. She was wearing the emerald green sweater I once told her made her look like something out of a painting. And across from her, at a candlelit table for 2, was Leon. No laptop, no work documents, just wine glasses, pasta bowls, and her tilted smile. I didn't storm in. I didn't make a scene. I waited outside like a ghost, hands clenched in my coat pockets, the cold seeping through to my bones. I watched her tuck her hair behind her ear. I watched him lean forward with that same confident posture that made my stomach twist. She laughed, again. That same laugh she used to give me, back when I was still her safe place. After 20 minutes, they stood up. He touched her lower back, again. That damn spot. And when they walked out the front entrance, they didn't see me. I was parked just far enough away to be invisible. She didn't even look around. I followed them in my car. I know how that sounds. I hate admitting it. But I needed to know if I was still her husband or just some man paying rent for the place she slept between lies. They didn't go to her office. They didn't even try to pretend. They went to a hotel 2 neighborhoods over, one of those boutique ones with personalized key cards and rooftop access. I parked across the street and waited until they went inside. Then I walked in behind them, heart in my throat, pretending like I was meeting someone. The front desk was quiet. One staff member was typing something into the computer. "I'm checking on a reservation," I said, swallowing hard. "For Adina Carr?" The man glanced down, typed, and smiled faintly. "Yes, miss. Carr checked in 20 minutes ago. Would you like me to ring her room?" I don't even remember how I got out of there. My legs felt like they didn't belong to me. I didn't say a word. I just walked out the door and let the wind hit my face until I couldn't feel anything anymore. She had a room. She made a reservation. She planned it. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't emotional confusion. This was betrayal. Scheduled, named, checked in. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I just sat in the living room with the lights off, staring at the front door like it owed me an explanation. I kept wondering what time she'd come home, or if she would at all. I imagined different versions of her walking through that door, one who cried and confessed, one who yelled and blamed me, one who said nothing and acted like I was imagining everything. The truth is, I had no idea which version of my wife I would get anymore. At 2:03 a.m., the handle turned. She stepped inside like she was just getting back from a late shift. Hair tied up, jacket folded neatly over her arm, no makeup smudged, no signs of guilt on her face. Just tiredness, manufactured tiredness, the kind you put on like clothing to make people back off. "Oh," she said, spotting me in the shadows. "You're still up." I didn't speak. I couldn't. Every word I wanted to say felt like it would collapse if I said it out loud. My jaw tightened. My eyes must have said more than my silence did, because she set her purse down slowly, cautiously, like she was approaching a wounded animal. "I told you I'd be home late," she added, her tone firm, almost defensive. I stood up and walked past her, brushing my hand over the table as I passed. She flinched like she thought I'd raise my voice or throw something. But I didn't. I just opened the drawer where we kept spare keys and pulled hers out. It was still warm. "You didn't come from work," I said, not looking at her. She didn't deny it. I turned toward her, holding the key in my palm. "You had a reservation under your name, Adina. At a hotel. I was there. I saw you." Her face didn't crumble. It didn't even crack. It just shifted, hardened. "I was going to tell you," she said, "but I knew how you'd react." That sentence shattered me more than anything else. Not what she did, not who she did it with, but the fact that she calculated it. She knew. She planned around my heartbreak like it was just another meeting she had to avoid. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she added quietly, as if that made a difference. "But it did," I said, "and it kept happening." She looked away. Her lips trembled for a split second, then flattened. "I haven't loved you the same way for a long time, Lowell." It felt like someone reached inside my chest and yanked the cord that kept me upright. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "I tried," she said, softer now. "I really did." The silence between us was thicker than any scream. I put her key on the table and walked past her again, this time toward the bedroom. Not because I forgave her, not because I wanted to stay, but because I had no idea where else to go. She didn't follow me. She just stood in the hallway while I shut the door between us. And for the first time since I met her, I felt truly, completely alone. I didn't leave the next day. I didn't slam the door or pack a suitcase or throw my ring on the floor like they do in the movies. I just made coffee, I fed the cat, I showered. And while Adina pretended to still be asleep upstairs, I opened my laptop and started writing everything down, not for her, not even for myself at first. Just to make sure the truth existed somewhere, in case I ever doubted it again. But somewhere between typing and crying and typing again, I felt something shift. I realized I wasn't writing about her anymore. I was writing about me, about the man who had shrunk himself so small just to be easy to love, about the man who mistook loyalty for invisibility, about the man who gave grace even when he wasn't given honesty. I didn't hate her. That was the strangest part. I wasn't angry, not in the explosive scorched earth way I thought I'd be. I was just done. By Sunday morning, I had called a friend, Grant from college. He had a spare room. No questions asked. I packed only what I needed, clothes, my laptop, and the old framed photo of my parents at their lake house. I left the rest behind, including my wedding ring. I placed it gently on the nightstand, not as revenge, not to hurt her, but as a final quiet punctuation mark to a sentence that had gone on too long. When I walked out of that house, It wasn't with a broken heart. It was with something better, clarity. It's strange how grief can make room for gratitude. I was grateful she told me the truth eventually, even if it was late. Grateful I didn't catch her a year later, or with a child caught in the middle. Grateful that now I could begin again, knowing exactly who I was without her. 3 weeks later, I stood by the shore of Lake Eston, where my parents used to take me as a kid. I watched the water stretch out endlessly and realized, for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt free. And that's how it ended, not with shouting, not with revenge, just with a quiet goodbye and the long overdue return to myself. If you've ever been through something that nearly broke you, but ended up leading you to something better, drop your story in the comments. Maybe it's a breakup, maybe a job loss, maybe a betrayal that freed you. We'd love to hear how your darkest moment opened the door to something brighter. And don't forget, you're watching Reddit Confessions, where real stories get real healing. See you in the next one.